Lupita, you've worked with Jordan Peele, Steve McQueen, Mira Nair. I think a lot of filmmakers who have been underrepresented in the past in Hollywood. Are you making these choices specifically to work with, directors like that, or is it just the roles you've been drawn to?
I think these are all directors who have offered me the most interesting roles, and I've taken them. And I haven't really thought. I haven't really thought about the demographic of the director I've been working with. I think because I am a Black woman, and so, this industry, this Me Too time, this Time's Up time is about allowing for more equitable representation. And I am benefiting from the efforts of a lot of other women who have come before me, other Black women who have come before me, who have had it a lot rougher than I have. And I'm aware of that. It's a time when directors like Steve McQueen and Jordan Peele are being given chances to make work. And so they are able to then, in Jordan's case, write with someone like me in mind for their next film. And for me, I think this is a time where there is a concerted effort to consider diversity and inclusion. What I really want is for it to not be a fad, not be a trend,
People shouldn't be trends.
Right now it's really dope and cool and on trend to work with women and underrepresented groups. But I think the moment of maturity in the industry is when it is just the norm.
For sure.
When you no longer need to ask that question.
Right.
Yeah. When were you most afraid or intimidated by a role, and how did you overcome it?
I would say that the last film, Us, terrified me quite a bit. And like Renee said,
And the audience.
Just saying.
like Renee said, I feel the same way. Every time I work, I wonder whether I have what it takes to do that particular role, because, we're in a business where we're always starting again. You start with ignorance with every role. And the preparation is about moving from that ignorance to hopefully a sense of, expertise by the time the film wraps.
Right.
But with Us, I had to play two characters in one movie, and I had the time it usually takes me to prepare for one. And these two characters are diametrically opposed to each other. They are individual, but they're also two entities that ultimately are one. So that was a challenge, just in terms of how to organize it in my head, and how to make them distinct and yet feel like two parts of one entity.
I'm curious if you've ever had an experience where the actor you had to work across from wasn't giving you what you needed, or it just wasn't really vibing the way it needed to. How you dealt with that? You don't have to name names.
I've watched all the things.
If you've had to, work with an actor and it just wasn't working.
Yeah, it's interesting. For me, I was trained in the theater, and so that's where I feel like most at home. And film is something that I've been working on for the last, 6 years. And what's interesting about film is that you are at risk, I think, more often of having an actor that doesn't respond, because on stage, it is the performers who are in charge of the magic. Whereas on film, there's other people in charge of the magic. Yes, the performers do their thing, but then there's the editor who ultimately is the one that puts the performance together. Then it's the take, you just have to do this. Yeah, the camera, all these weird things where you can't look at the person you're acting with, you have to look at the X or something like that. So all those things get in the way or make just human exchange a little bit more challenging. And therefore I think you are more likely to find moments with an actor where things are not gelling, because there's so many other things to deal with. So for me, working on this on Us was a lesson in how effective being self-reliant can be. It's almost like you have to control what you can and then just let go, and trust that your scene partner, the editor, will do the gluing.